Good evening. I'm tired. I was in Starbucks for like 5 hours. It's starting to hit me now. But the war has started So what's that quote? Something about sharks. Like, if you abandon me in the ocean and then I save myself from the sharks. I'll put it on the screen. It's something, I paraphrase, but it's something like, if you abandon me in the ocean among the sharks and then I make it out of there, don't ask me how I got out of there. Unfortunately, Jeff didn't get out of his situation, but now all his biker friends, which I'm calling every single one of them out for not visiting him. It's like, really, like, oh, you're gonna say, oh, so sad, he's gone. Yeah, well, where were you? And then I look at their videos and I look at their Facebook pages. It's all public, and it's all like, oh, haha, Jeff crashed his bike. Oh, haha, well, let's go see if Jeff's dead. It's like they used him almost as like the group, like, scapegoat, or the clown, or the guy that was, oh, he's always gonna crash. It's like, yeah, how about you not do that so that he doesn't actually crash? Maybe like not be such like dumbasses on your motorcycles until somebody gets hurt and then none of you visit. So I called one person out on it. He blocked me, and then he goes, what are you even doing here? Like on his, obituary post about Jeff. And here's the thing. If you're gonna claim somebody as your friend, at least get some facts right. Like his birthday. Don't post, oh, happy birthday, like today's your birthday, and it's like 2 days after his birthday. But no, I know this guy. I met him when we were packing up the house, and he was just like, I don't even know. I'm not really gonna waste my breath on my opinion of him. But I was like, yeah, where were you all for 2 years? I mean, literally, he had maybe like one high school friend visited that we hadn't seen in like decades. So he came out. He was super nice. Our old friend. I didn't really know him too well, but he had this like Volkswagen Bug with a massive engine in the back, and that's what he drove. Our friend Brian. And then one of his other motorcycle friends visited recently, like a couple months ago. And then that was about it, except for the inner circle, which is, his brother, me, our friend, like some other people that are involved in the immediate logistical and care of Jeff. But the regular biker friends that were all over him when they could borrow his BMW motorcycle, or KTM, or Ducati, or Harley, or any of that stuff, not a single one of them bothered to visit. And now they're posting like, oh, the good memory of, riding together. I'm like, yeah, like, where were you? I get it. Like, some people don't like hospitals, and it is quite terrifying that, oh, this happened to him, it could happen to us too, because we're being dumbasses on a motorcycle. But yeah, you don't get to claim somebody when you abandon them. I mean, he needed them. He needed everybody to come visit him and see him. And he wasn't in that bad of a state. Like, when I was with him, we got him looking and feeling healthy, like dignified. I mean, yeah, he had one leg, but lots of people have one leg. Like, you could just, it wasn't like he was, it wasn't going to be squeamish. But toward the end, he looked really, really bad. And I didn't realize how bad he looked, because I was being told by, feeding information from his mother and his sister that he was doing better, but he wasn't. And in fact, he was doing the complete opposite of better. But I have to wait the whole weekend before we find out when we're going to repatriate his body. And I think, honestly, what we're going to do is, when we get his body, we're going to have a very private funeral for, his brother, me, our best friend, maybe one or two other close people that were there, like, in spirit, but couldn't visit because of where they live. So like maybe 2 or 3 of his very, very good friends that are not part of the asshole biker circle. And then his ex-wife and their daughter. So I think and it's going to be a military funeral. It's going to be a veteran funeral. So, he's a Navy veteran. And it was funny, his email, part of his email, not his full email address, but part of his email was Mr. Leadfoot. because he was on a nuclear submarine and he was 6'4". I'm like, no wonder you got discharged on back problems, you know, service connected. But and that's the other thing, I need to transfer his benefit to his daughter. But I think we're going to have a very, very private, we're not going to have like, you know, a 21 biker salute, or like, you know, everyone shows up and revs their engines. No, you can all piss off because you weren't there for 2 years. You don't get to make yourself feel better for being the good friend by showing up on the last day. Like, that's kind of like, you know, don't bother to try to open the pasta jar until like everyone's tried and you open the lid and go, oh, what was so hard? I'm not an angry person, but I am so angry when I should be grieving. But I have to wait now another day because tomorrow's Sunday. And I'm still in La Quinta and I'm at the Walmart right now. I'm going to park up for the night. And I had a good ride this morning, had a good hike yesterday. Had 2 days of rollerblading, which was fun. I don't think I'll do that tomorrow because I think it'll be, sorry, tired. It'll be too busy tomorrow. And I don't want to drive too far out because I have to drive to Vegas and I'm trying to conserve gas. So I was telling one of my friends, he's like, when are you coming back to Houston? Because everyone's like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm gone in California. I have to take care of a lot of things. Like, Jeff died. And they're like, oh, we didn't know. I was like, that's fine. Like, of course you're not going to know. This is not something I generally share with my Houston friends, you know, because I'm dealing with it privately. So, but one of my friends was like, well, you know, how are you going to get home? You're going to drive or fly? I said, well, I'm driving to Vegas and I'm flying home for like 5-6 days because I have presentation and stuff to do. And I have mommy and me time and all this stuff. And I've seen my daughter. And he's like, oh, you know, I'll send you $100 for gas to get home. And I'm like, dude, so I was like, I don't need it. Like, I'm fine with gas money. But he sent me $100, you know, consolation. Like, here, I'll cheer you up. I'll send you $100 for gas. And I'm like, dude, that won't even get me out of the Coachella Valley. Like, I filled up $60 of gas and I'm not even on a full tank. It's so expensive here. It's almost $4 or $5 a gallon. So that $100 will get me not a lot. It'll get me like 20 gallons, which isn't even a tank. So I appreciate the moral support, but to be honest, you know, it's not going to get me very far. It's certainly not going to get me to Vegas the whole way, and it's not going to get me to Houston at all. Houston's a 19-hour drive. It's 1,700 miles. So, oh, I'm tired. Sorry. Oh my God. How rude of me to yawn on camera. You guys are so boring. Oh, I just, you know, I thought everything with Jeff would be linear, right? Like, I was in the hospital, we're getting better, but his brain trauma, his brain and his body didn't sync up. And when you don't eat and when you don't get out of bed, when you have low morale and you're in these nursing facilities where people are just poking and prodding you, and you have that for, you know, 680 days in a row, it gets a lot, like, really tedious, and you just kind of give up. Like, you don't want to be there, and there's no way to get out. There's no get out of jail free card. And he would refer to it as prison, and, you know, that he was like held there against his will. And it's like, well, you have to be there because, first of all, they're not going to release you unless you have like an ADA adequate home. And we were working on figuring that out. I had a bunch of veteran organizations that could provide equipment. I went to the All Abilities Expo in October, where in Dallas, where I talked to a lot of people about potentially getting some prototypes or getting some gear for Jeff for his truck and wheelchairs, you know, accessibility and stuff like that. Like, even make his wheelchair into a motorcycle, right? Which was just crazy that they did that. I thought it was awesome, but I'm like, he's not getting back on a motorcycle. And I had all this stuff that I was going to get ready because I had heard from his mother that, you know, things were getting better. But in the reality was that things were actually getting a lot worse. And I don't know why she wouldn't tell us the truth. Well, actually I do. I'm not going to get into that, what her agenda is now that the whole body snatching thing has happened. And you don't even get paid for the body. So it's not like she did it for money after 30 years of extorting money from him. Like, it's not like she did it for that reason. She did it for whatever sick and twisted denial of funeral and denial of closure. But she did it basically as soon as he died, like boom, like Loma Linda was there to pick up the body and take it away without any of us being informed. So we need to get him out of there, but I don't know. I just, I'm feeling it today. I'm really, like, there's some songs that played when I was in Starbucks, and, you know, I stupidly went through Facebook to go look at whatever anybody had posted of Jeff, because I was just kind of collecting photos for, you know, a slideshow or something we could do at the funeral. And then I got into all these posts and then all these dumbass videos on YouTube that I found, and I was just like, yeah, like, oh, you think it's so funny that he accidentally rode his KTM into a ravine, you know, in 2017. Oh, you thought it was so funny when, you know, he fell off, or you guys lost him because he went down the wrong way, and oh, haha, good content. Like, it was just like one after another. Like, he wasn't like the group, like, clown guy. Like, he was a pretty decent rider. He taught, you know, BMW, motorcycle racing, all this stuff. But it's all that, like, backcountry, you know, oh, let's do this for clicks, like, dumbass shit that they did, that's the stuff that's infuriating. Like, you know, it's good to, like, screw around sometimes, but not when you're going to get people hurt and joke about, oh, maybe Jeff's dead. Oh, let's go look and find out if Jeff's dead. Like, this is 2017, 2018 when this video came out that I found. And I was like, wait a minute, like, you're joking about that. But then it actually happened. And where were you all? Where was any single one of those people? So when I posted on somebody's thread where I was like, yeah, but you didn't visit after the 2022 crash, like, you didn't visit. And then I said, oh, by the way, his birthday's like 1/26, not, you know, 1/27. And he goes, just stop. Why are you even here? I'm like, why not? It's like, you don't get to post a bunch of shit about someone you didn't care about. I care about him, and I miss him, and I'm heartbroken, and I'm pissed off about everything that's happened, when I should be grieving, and we should be remembering him, and we should be having a funeral, but we don't get to have a funeral because of this. And in the meantime, everybody's virtue signaling about what a great guy he was. If he was so great, you would have stopped him from hurting himself. You would have encouraged him to ride a little bit less erratic. Just, you know, you would have put the egos aside instead of having to just have everything out there like, oh, look at how cool we are with our big ass, you know, tiny dicks. Like, that's not cool anymore. I mean, I have friends that are really good snowboarders. I have friends that are really good downhill mountain bikers, and we do dangerous, including myself, pretty dangerous, crazy stuff, but we don't do it in the capacity of getting blinded by a car. We don't do it in the capacity of deliberately putting ourselves in a situation where we're going to crash and get hurt. And that is the important thing. Like, I'll go on a double black diamond with a bunch of bikers, mountain bikers, and be like, okay, I've got to, you know, check my line. I've got to figure out where I'm going to go. I'm going to send it in a controlled environment, in a place where we understand that, okay, if you go this way, it's safe. If you go that way, it's not safe. We're not out there going like, oh man, do a double backflip and like show off and this shit. Oh no, you broke your shoulder bone. Oh, you know, collarbone. That's great. That's, you know, good content. We're not out there doing that. We're not intentionally hurting ourselves. Even my friends that do like the double black diamond, the backcountry stuff, you know, the split board and all that stuff, and they're going down and they're sending it down, you know, like Corbett's Calera, like, you know, all these like crazy places. They're doing it in a way where they understand, like, and they're professional and they're qualified to do it. They're not just like, oh, we're just gonna do it and, oh, look at us, we've just broken our neck, or oh, haha, he might be dead. Like, it's that kind of, there's a line between the two worlds of like Red Bull and dumbass. And it's like, if you're Red Bull, like me, my friends and their friends, that's great. But if you're like dumbass, like, you know, what I've been seeing, putting Jeff in harm's way and then abandoning him when he actually got injured, like, none of that is okay. Oh, sorry, I got this weird, what is good? Just a light over there, sorry. None of that is okay. None of that whatsoever is how, you know, how you conduct yourself in sport. Now, I have a nonprofit specifically for people that were like active in sport and activities and things, outdoor activities, and then something happened. They went to combat, they had PTSD, they suffered trauma, sexual assault, domestic violence, whatever it was, and they want to get back into that sport or activity or try something new, but they have a new body to navigate, but they need to do it in a safe, controlled environment. Now, maybe they were dumbasses and decided to go do something stupid, you know, because they want to show off on YouTube or do a TikTok, and they end up breaking their neck, and then they're like, oh, I can't snowboard anymore, but I want to. Okay, great. Well, my organization will get you a sit ski and we'll figure it out. But you're not going to break your neck again. You know, what happened after the 2019 crash is everyone rallied around Jeff, and, you know, they kidnapped him from the hospital so he could go, you know, touch a motorcycle outside. You know, they made it all about them and not about his safety. And after he got out the hospital in 2019 and through 2020, they started to encourage him to get back on a motorcycle without addressing the fact that he had a traumatic brain injury, that he had short-term memory, that had partial paralysis on his right leg, that he had a lot of things in his body that he couldn't really control when it came to riding a motorcycle. And a couple times, even while he was teaching a class one day, he just fell off his motorcycle. He just, you know, he lost control of it. But these guys still took him out. They still encouraged him to ride without addressing the fact that he needed to be in a different type of accommodation in order to do those activities. Now, when I would mountain bike with him, I rode motorcycles like once or twice with him around the neighborhood, but he wanted to go further out and go faster. And I said, no, under my watch, we'll ride, but you're not going 110 miles an hour, no-handed in the middle of Tennessee at night. Not on my watch. Like, you know, and he was fine with it, because in order to ride with me, we were in a more controlled environment. We still rode, you know, decently, but we didn't do anything erratic, because I knew that he couldn't physically control his motorcycle the way that he used to do before the 2019 crash. So then the mountain biking, so we went trail riding, and we went trail riding a lot, like all over, like around Nashville and around like the town that he lived in outside of Nashville. And it was really, really nice to, you know, get him back on a mountain bike. He struggled a lot because he had paralysis. He had to modify his mountain bike a little bit so that he could ride. He had, you know, just a lot of like kind of this, you know, on the one hand, like he couldn't do it physically, but his brain wanted to, so he was kind of conflicted. And so we worked through that, and we were able to do like 10-mile trail rides in the forest and you know, down mountain bike trails and all of that stuff. And it was really, really nice. Then we go out, we go for a walk around the neighborhood and go stargazing. And, you know, it wasn't less fun than doing the dumbass shit. It was actually more fun, because he was brought down to a level where he could start to work through the limitations and the trials and tribulations that his body was presenting him after the 2019 crash, and work through it and figure out how to do the same activities, but just in a slightly different way. And it was great. But then, of course, then he gets back on the motorcycle with the able-bodied friends, and they want to go 150 miles an hour in Mexico and then fly off a cliff, which is what happened to him. And he ended up about 30 feet away from his motorcycle. His left foot was touching his right shoulder when he was in this mangled mess, and he was gurgling and gargling like he's dying inside his helmet. And I'll go through the whole story one day, but basically his life was saved by a bunch of like EMTs that were on vacation, and they had the trauma kit so they could do the golden hour and, like, you know, take the helmet off and give him all the IVs and drips and everything. So his life was saved during that hour before they could get him to a clinic and then get him airlifted to San Diego, which is where I went to the hospital there in San Diego to take care of him. But leading up to that, everyone knew that he was a little off, that he, you know, he was hearing voices because he had that near-death experience, and, you know, his brain trauma and his confusion, but they still took him out as if he was 2017, 2018 Jeff, not 2019 crash, or, you know, pre-2022 crash. And then that's what happened. He became overly confident or trying to like be like the able-bodied guys or his guy friends, and he lost control of the motorcycle and plummeted off a cliff. He healed from pretty much all of the physical injuries from the motorcycle crash. It was just that his brain trauma was so bad. And I guess, you know, I guess in the eyes of his dumbass biker friends, oh, well, he can't ride with us, so he's not in our circle anymore. Let's just move on. Okay, great. Well, thanks. You know, thanks for the 15 years of dragging him around on a motorcycle, you know, doing stupid shit, putting him in danger and thinking it's all funny and let's do YouTube about it. And then when he can't play with you guys anymore, you don't even give him the time of day. Beautiful. That's great. My God, if any of my friends in my outdoor activities and indoor activity world did that to me, like, I mean, I've, you know, broken my wrist ice skating. I've nothing to the extent of what Jeff did, but my friends would never treat me or any of us in our circle the way that his dumbass biker friends are. And, you know, they're all moved on, but then like, oh, R.I.P. Jeff, rest in peace, Jeff. I'm like, you never visited, you never called, you didn't email, you didn't check in. You stayed away for whatever reason. Sure, maybe it's scary to think, oh, that could have been you, but you don't get to claim someone as your friend when you've abandoned them. What is it like? The other thing is, you know, if he had survived it and we were able to go home and you know, create life, you know, together and move on, you know, it's like, don't, you know, if you're invisible during my struggle, stay silent in my victory. Well, they were invisible during his struggle and he didn't get a victory at all. In fact, he's in a lab right now. You know, like we're trying to get him buried. So like I said, I'm not going to, I think, you know, I've talked to the inner circle and I think we've all agreed that it's going to be a very private, you know, funeral with just the inner circle, myself included, and it's going to be a veteran, you know, it's going to be a veteran cemetery, and yeah, we're going to have just a private funeral. His dad's ashes haven't been buried yet, so we're most likely going to be buried next to his dad at the same time, and it's going to be very dignifying. We're not going to have, you know, Sturgis you know, show up. We're not going to have a biker rally, you know, the Galveston biker rally show up at his funeral, and we're not going to have everyone honking their horns and going, oh, what a decent stand-up guy Jeff was. No, piss off. All of you go. None of you get to be there. If you weren't there when he was needing you the most, you don't get to be there to go pat yourself on the back and say, oh, we miss him so much. No. I think all of you that didn't show up need to reevaluate your priorities, and yeah, just stay the hell away, because he doesn't need you anymore. You weren't even there. So that's kind of the executive decision. Yeah, so anyway, so I'm heading to Vegas Monday, probably Monday afternoon. I'm going to have everyone follow up, the inner circle follow up on getting Jeff out of that hospital. If for like miracle, you know, I'm not religious, but I'm starting to like wonder, like, is there like a higher being, you know, because this is all just ridiculously crazy. And I don't know where Jeff's afterlife is, because I don't really believe in that stuff, but I'm starting to think that maybe there might be something. I don't know. I have no idea. My head is all over the place, but if there's some miracle that he gets released from that facility on Tuesday, by Tuesday, I can stay here at least till Tuesday. I can do my upper cabinets later. I was going to do the upper cabinets before I flew home next weekend, on the 7th, but today's the 1st, so I can stay through the 3rd, or why does it look like I have a weird thing? Sorry. I can stay through the 3rd or the 4th at the latest, and then I have to get to Vegas, and I do have to get there, like, you know, at least by the 4th. But if Jeff is released, then I will hopefully be able to go with the transport at the same time, like drive behind and follow Jeff over. Now, I don't know how we actually, like, I don't know how the body's transported. I don't know if we have to identify the body before it's like packaged up and prepared for transportation to Las Vegas, because, you know, I don't trust this medical facility whatsoever. Obviously they didn't bother checking any legal documents before they took the body, or even bother checking with next of kin. I'm getting blinded again. There's a lot of people parking up right now because I'm on like the, you know, the sleepy row right over here on the edge of the Walmart parking lot. A couple regulars, I'm seeing the same people, but anyway, back to this. So yeah, I don't know how they like package him up, and when he gets to the funeral home, like if we even get to identify that, yeah, that's the guy, and they're not just going to give us anybody, because he should never have been transported there in the first place. He should have been a DNR, which I would have been as equally heartbroken and upset about a DNR, but I know that's what he wanted. We talked about it. We talked about what happens if something happened to us, you know, and you know, we were together. We were a couple, but we weren't married. I mean, shit, I would have married him in a heartbeat if I knew any of this was going to happen. I would have married him when I was 2006, when I was 28, when we had that discussion and we were completely single and we're hanging out in Long Beach for the day, and we were at Johnny Rockets because that's where we used to eat all the time when we were teenagers, and I was drinking a milkshake. That was awesome. I remember it. And we just sat there, we looked at each other and we're like, should we like date each other? And I was like, but I like you as my like soulmate and best friend. I don't ever want to break up. And we just decided, you know, pinky swore on it. We decided that we're just going to remain unconditionally loving best friends. And then we got together in 2020, beginning of 2022, because I went to go visit him in the van. And I was like, we had a talk, a very long talk, 12 hours on the phone. We talked like a few days before I got there. And Jeff was like, you know, I'm going through this spiritual journey after my 2019 crash. You know, I've got a lot of things. You know, he was trying to get to, like, you know, his imaginary guide, right? Because that's what happens when you have a near-death experience. I get it, right? So he had this imaginary guide, and that was kind of his, you know, his woman, right? His person. But it was funny when he would describe her, a lot of it was like me. So I was like, oh, okay. But we had this really, really, really long talk about just like who we are to each other, and we are unconditional soulmates. And I was like, I respect that, and I would be that way until we're in old age and we're in an old people's home and we're hanging out together, you know, when we're like 90 years old. And then I drove out to Tennessee, and you know, I couldn't get my van down the driveway. He drove the van down the driveway for me. And then I didn't know like exactly like the extent of his injuries, like his paralysis and stuff, because I hadn't seen him since before the 2019 crash. And so it's 2022 and I'm out there, and of course before, like, I left the van at the top, of the front yard, and because it's a big driveway that went down. So I left it at the top, and I walked down, knocked on the door, and as soon as he opened the door, and I was like, oh, hi, you're beautiful. And then he looked at me, and then he looked at my feet, and he goes, you have pretty feet. And so I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. We lasted one day, not even 24 hours before we were like, okay, we are adults and we love each other. So yeah, I was like, man, you're beautiful. Oh. I'm trying not to cry because I'm an ugly crier and it messes up my contacts and all that vanity, but I just, that look, and then we had like that within that like less than 24-hour period, we just catch a glance and be like, 15-year-old Jeff, 15-year-old Jennie, 20-year-old Jeff, 19-year-old Jennie. We had these just like, when you know someone for 33 years and you have that connection from day one. But I wonder, I'm like, what if we had like been something in 2006? Of course, we wouldn't have our kids, we'd have other kids, we'd have, other children. We wouldn't necessarily have our children, like our children, their personalities and who they are, but we would have kids. I don't think he would have been doing all of the crazy, ridiculous, dangerous, dumbass motorcycle stuff he was doing. I think he would have, we would have done a YouTube channel. I would have done something where he could do that for a living professionally instead of having to get like a day job to fund his hobby. We would have traveled a lot. We probably would have done some motorcycle trips like in, Vietnam or maybe Europe or, I don't know, Australia or something. Like we would have had a really, really great life. It would have been great. I don't think he would have done what happened. I think, I don't know. We would have been officially together for almost, 18 years. Is that right? 2006 to 2014? Yeah, shit. 18 years. 33 years knowing each other, and it would have been 18 years. No, 19 years now. 2005 to 2006 to 2025. I can't even think. My brain is like this. But that is, these thoughts have been going through my mind. Like, what if I did that? And other of the inner circle friends were like, oh, I should have called him more. I should have, they're trying to remember what was the last thing I said to him before the last time I spoke to him on the phone, that kind of thing. For me, it was just a lot of logistical stuff, trying to get him catastrophic disability with the VA. We had to have him to fill out some forms for him, but a lot of it too was a lot of hope. And I have that phone call recorded. Like we talked about getting out of there, and I told him about some of my travels that are coming up, and the award that I'm up for with this organization for the nonprofit, and that all his friends really care about him, like the inner circle, not these dumbass biker friends. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get out of the hospital, and we're gonna go camping and fishing, and get back on a mountain bike. And I told him about the All Abilities Expo, where I had met with a bunch of different technology companies about prosthetics and different types of wheelchairs and lifts for his truck and all this stuff. And we talked about that for like 2 hours. And then he started to get tired because he was having problems with his stomach. And then the nurses came in and we had to hang up. And we left on the words of I love you, and I miss you, and I'm gonna come see you soon. Which is what I should have done this week. And it's not happening. But yeah, I don't mind calling out his friends for not visiting, and if all their only response is stop, why the hell are you even here? Why are you commenting? What's your problem? They're not his friends, and they're not my friends either. And as far as I'm concerned, they can just go piss off and do whatever they do all day, because they have no part in Jeff's heart if that's how they're going to abandon him and that's how they're going to treat him, or how they're going to disrespect me when I've been boots on the ground for over 2 years now, and I'm here sitting in a parking lot in Walmart in frickin' Palm Springs, trying to wait and figure out how to get his body out of there. Now, they don't know any of the stuff about the body snatching happened. In fact, only like 3 people know outside of the inner circle, and that was out of necessity. But these biker friends that are, his YouTube friends, and these like motocross guys and all the people that abandoned him, they don't know the situation of where he's at. None of them have even asked where the funeral is, or if there's a memorial, they don't care. They don't give a shit. But they're going to post on their, you know, the keyboard cowards. Okay, yeah, post on your Facebook how great, you know, a friend you are. And just, you know, don't ever talk to me. Like, ever. You know, and then don't disrespect me when I'm the one that, you know, that's handling everything right now. When all I want to do is just give him a hug and just be with him. So I don't know, if I end up having to go to Loma Linda and they're like, hey, you need to identify the body, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to eat anything that morning. I'm going to have an empty stomach and I'm going to go and identify him. I mean, if I get to just, like, you know, hold his hand or something, I don't know. There's nothing tangible that tells me that he's gone, that he's passed away. Nothing. We don't have anything tangible. We don't have a death certificate. We don't have eyes on, you know, we don't have identifying the body. We don't have we weren't with him when he was, you know, in his last couple of days. We didn't get to hold his hand. I didn't get to give him a kiss on the forehead. We don't have anything tangible, and humans need tangible. We need something to bring closure, and right now we don't even have it. I mean, for all I know, he could still be alive, you know. It's like something bizarre like that. Like, we don't have any proof that this is the end of it, that it's permanent. All we have is a bunch of red tape, bureaucracy, phone calls, and legal departments handling stuff. So until we are able to know that he is safely transported to a funeral home in Vegas and we can bury him and we can have a dignified, you know, last resting place for him, until that happens, you know, I don't have closure. All we have is just anger, frustration, and all of this stuff, and it is not healthy whatsoever. It is a horrible way to grieve. And the fact that his mother instigated this aspect of grief for us by donating his body to science, to a place where they blow them up with IEDs or they use them as crash test dummies, and then 2 years from now we get whatever remains are left of him. We don't even get a whole body. Some religions, you have to be buried within 24 hours and your body has to be whole. I can't imagine other families that are of those religions that find out that their loved one got donated and that all they get is a toe back in a fucking Tupperware container. That is not closure for 2 more years before we get to bury him or cremate him. I mean, this is messing all around with my, you know, belief system, science-based atheism that I am, you know, but also like spirituality. Like, maybe, like, what happened? Where's his soul gone? Like, where is Jeff? Like, where's he? You know, because he was not part of his body between 2019 and the 2022 crash. He was very much separated from the physical body. He called it an avatar. The physical body that he was in was no longer his. He no longer had ownership of it after the near-death experience in 2019. And that motorcycle crash changed him a lot. And we had to kind of bring him down to earth. We're like, hey, you are part of your body. Your body's here. You're not separate from it. But now he is. I would like to think he is, because I don't want to think that his soul is in that research facility attached to that body. I hope that whatever, you know, out of this world thing is happening with him, that his soul is over here and his body is just a physical part of this world. That, you know, this is why it's messing with me. I was just like, I got some very nice text messages from friends of mine that are, you know, not very close friends, but they, you know, went to college with them or high school with them, and they've checked in with me to say, hey, you know, how are you doing? And they are quite religious in their like, both in their like career. One of them is like a minister or something that I went to college with, and just really sincere about it though. Like, hey, you know, like, you know, you're a strong woman, Jennie. I just hope you're okay, that you have someone to talk to. I know you're not, you know, religious, but, you know, and that they come from like a religious background, but we're able to kind of meld the two worlds. And I felt like there was a lot of comfort. But I did say, like, I'm starting to question. I'm not like, born again Christian. I'm not going to do any of that. But I'm starting to question, like, I think Jeff went where he thought he was going to go when he died. And I do hope that his soul, if that is a thing after you die, of course I don't believe that, right? Because it's like science. But in my love aspect for Jeff, I do hope that his soul is somewhere, because when I was in the lobby of the Loma Linda Medical Center and I knew that he was only a couple floors up, and I just kind of was like, he's here, and it was fucking with me, because I'm like, what am I feeling? Like, this is not what I expected to feel. Like, I feel like he's near me because he physically was, but is his soul there too? I don't know. I've had a lot of time on my own, a lot of long driving times, and a lot of alone time in the last 2 weeks. Even though I've been invited to all of LA. All my friends in LA are like, hey, come park in my driveway, or let's go to this concert in San Diego, or let's go do this. I'm like, no, I'm sitting in the Walmart parking lot and I'm not moving for a week. I'm just gonna hang out in La Quinta. But it's definitely something that I need to evaluate once I have a clear head after we get Jeff back and we have the funeral. Then I can start thinking about, how am I going to remember him? How am I going to feel him? Like, because I can't just call him or text him anymore. So how can I still have a connection to him? Because I don't know. I don't believe any of that. I don't think that he's like around me, like, Ghost, right? Like Whoopi Goldberg, like I can hear them. No, I don't believe that. But should I, should I start to? Is that going to make it easier? Because this is really fucking hard right now. This is the hardest thing that I have gone through. And I don't have a roadmap. And right now, nobody knows what's going on except like the whole of YouTube. But at the time that I'm filming this, nobody knows what's going on with Jeff. And by the time this comes out, we will have answers, and there'll be videos on that too. So I just don't know how I'm supposed to grieve, like, apart from just being really angry right now, but also, how do I feel him? How do I, when I hear a song that we loved to listen to, or I go to a restaurant we used to go to, or I go hiking where we used to go hiking, how am I supposed to remember our memories? And am I supposed to feel his presence in all these places? Like, I don't know. Again, I don't have a roadmap. I don't know how this all works. I didn't read the death books. I didn't read the baby books either. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So once we have a funeral, at least I'll have a place I can go to and like hang out with him. But when I go to my dad's grave in New Jersey, or Tim's grave in Indiana, I don't feel anything. Like, obviously I feel respect, but I don't think like, because, well, this is before Jeff died, but when I went to go visit my dad and I went to go visit Tim, I feel a lot of like remembering all the good times, and like the respect for, I have love for both of them, my dad and for Tim. But this time around it's different, because Jeff is such a different type of friend, and such a different unconditional love. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. But I hope in the next couple of days we get some answers. And I'll be back in Vegas on the 13th, and then I have to fly home again about 10 days later. And then I have another 2 weeks where I could be in Vegas. So I can essentially be in Vegas as long as I need to, until it starts to be 100 degrees. So I have probably until April before it will start getting hot there. Last year, or 2 years ago when I was there, it was April and it was still cold. March and April. So I don't know what I'm going to do. but other than wait. And hopefully we can have a funeral as soon as possible once we get him back. And I went to the news. I've emailed all the news reporters, you know, so hopefully maybe we can get some news coverage on it, and that can push the research center to give Jeff back to us, and then we can transport him to Las Vegas. But it's been a day. It's been a day. And also the website I was launching decided that it was going to crash on me, and so now I have to go through and troubleshoot. And I just, after about 2 hours of doing that, it was about 9 p.m. and my eyes were just spinning and my head was just hurting, and I'm like, I'm done dealing with this project. I will work on it tomorrow. And I had to reach out to a friend of mine. I'm like, do you even know how to fix this? I installed a multi-site, and we don't actually need a multi-site. And in fact, I'm just going to build 2 separate websites. I'm not going to have one admin where they can toggle between the 2. And so because I hadn't built the second website yet, and I had already set up the multi-site, when I went to go launch the WordPress site, it just crashed everything. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to deal with logic. I'm dealing with like subjective right now. So that's that. That is the update. I'm very, very hungry. I haven't eaten except a cheese board, and I had like a bit of a bad belly today. It's been a day, but tomorrow's Sunday, and then Monday, and then Tuesday. So, okay. Well, I've been talking for 45 minutes. So, anyway, I'm not very good at this. Again, I'm not equipped. This is above my tax bracket. I am not equipped for adulting in something so sad. I don't know, I'm just so sad. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to bed. And tomorrow, I think I might just go, I don't know what I'll do tomorrow. I have to see when the skate park opens. I like to just go roller skating or rollerblading for a couple hours tomorrow. Something easy, and then go to Planet Fitness, shower, because I didn't shower today, and then I will park up at the Starbucks again, and then just work on stuff. And then figure out when I'm going to go to Vegas. But I appreciate everyone that's called me and reached out. And I also lost my other friend Jen this week, which sucks. That was a hard blow. That was, Jeff, 2 years of fighting. It's a hard blow. But Jen, losing Jen, she was so wonderful. I knew her for 25 years. She was my biggest advocate for everything I'm going through with my family, which still hasn't been resolved. So I have that to go back to when I go back to Texas. Every time I'm back in Texas, I have to take care of that stuff as well. So yeah, it's been hard. It's really hard. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed before my contacts get all mushy and gross. So, okay, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Good morning. I just wanted to call and say hi and say I love you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.